Today I have an Arc Warlock build to show off. This build is so strong that it can carry you solo through endgame activities. I'll be showing gameplay footage of this in the background throughout the video. It's going to include Master Lost Sectors and Grandmasters. My goal is to show you real endgame builds and show you how to use them in endgame activities. Now this build is focused around the amplified buff on the Arc Subclass. This season, Season of the Witch, we have a seasonal mod called Elemental Embrace. This mod gives you a bonus to recovery and resilience when you have a subclass buff, which includes amplified. I did some testing so you can see just how much this helps you in endgame content. All the examples I'm going to show you were recorded in Grandmaster Nightfall. So the first example is going to be showing you the bonus to recovery you receive when using Elemental Embrace. I slowed it down to half speed so you can see the difference. And as you can see, there is a big difference between using Elemental Embrace and not using it. Now in real time, it's about a second difference. This next example is going to show you the difference in resilience that you receive when using the mod. With the resilience testing, you can see that one shot from the knight took away all of my shields when I did not have the mod equipped, whereas with the mod equipped, he did about half my HP. So now that we're able to stay alive in endgame content, we need to focus on killing adds. That's where the main exotic of this build, Fallen Sunstar, comes in. Now Fallen Sunstar's exotic perk says that ionic traces you create move faster and grant you additional ability energy. That means you have more melees, more healing rifts, and most importantly, more grenades. Now the grenade that we're going to be using with this build is the Pulse Grenade. In my opinion, it's by far the best grenade for endgame content, especially when you pair it with the fragments that we're going to be using, which I'll get into later. And obviously we're also going to be using Chaos Reach. It's a very strong super and allows you to stay at range safer from those enemies in the endgame content versus using Storm Trance where you're up close, basically in melee range. The aspects we're going to be using for this build are Arc Soul and Electrostatic Mind. Arc Soul is a great aspect because while amplified, your Arc Souls become supercharged and they gain increased fire rate. Now Electrostatic Mind is a great aspect because defeating targets with Arc abilities or defeating jolted targets creates those ionic traces, and collecting an ionic trace makes you amplified. So you're going to constantly be creating those ionic traces and then collecting them to keep you amplified. That way you'll be able to keep amplified up and benefit from Elemental Embrace the whole time. The fragments we're going to be running for this build are Spark of Discharge, which gives your Arc Weapon Final Blows a chance to create an ionic trace. Spark of Ions, where defeating a jolted target creates an ionic trace. Spark of Shock, where your arc grenades jolt targets. And Spark of Magnitude, where your lingering arc grenades have an extended duration. This makes your grenades very strong since they last longer and they're constantly jolting targets. And that feeds into the gameplay loop of the build. Spam abilities, get kills, spawn ionic traces, and repeat. Now I know most people tend to think of a Void or a Solar build when thinking about survivability and endgame content, since those subclasses have healing components built into their kit. Void has Devour, and Solar has Restoration and Well of Radiance. But this build proves that an Arc subclass can contend with them in endgame content. For weapons, all that really matters is that you're running some Arc weapons to spawn more ionic traces. I really like Grand Overture for my heavy weapon since it benefits from the seasonal Overload machine gun mod, and it provides great burst damage to deal with champions and bosses. You can also use Trinity Ghoul in the energy slot if there are a lot of red bar adds. Other than that, your weapons just depend on what champions you're dealing with. Now for the mods that you want to run with this build, they're all going to center around that gameplay loop I was talking about. So starting from the top with helmet mods, you want to run Arc Siphon, which is going to spawn orbs when you get kills with your arc weapons. This will help charge your super faster and give you charge with light. You also want to run Ashes to Assets to give you more super energy on grenade kills. And the last helmet mod is going to be Dynamo to help charge your super even faster. Like I said before, you're going to be getting your Rift back very quickly, so you'll really benefit from this mod. Next, for the arm mods, you want to run Firepower to spawn Orbs of Power on grenade kills. After that, Font of Focus to increase your grenade recharge rate even more. You can run 2 of these since using multiple copies does help the recharge rate, but personally I like running Bolstering Detonation instead, so each time you damage an enemy with a grenade, you get some Rift energy back as well. For chest mods, you just want to max out the resistances depending on the activity you're running. I try to match it to whatever the incoming damage surge is, but if you find yourself dying to certain attacks or enemies, just go with whatever's going to help you most. Other than that, I like to run one charged up mod so I can hold an extra armor charge. For legs, I run Better Already, which starts health regen when you pick up an Orb of Power, which really helps with survivability in endgame content. I also run an Arc Surge mod to increase the damage of my arc weapons. After that, I like to run Absolution to further reduce my ability cooldowns when I pick up an Orb of Power. If you're having issues with ammo, you can run a Scavenger mod instead of Absolution. And finally, for class armor mods, I like to run 2 time dilation mods to max out the time I have on my grenade recharge and my arc surge mods. They make your charge with light last for 18 seconds versus using 3 of them, which increases it to 20 seconds. In my opinion, that's too small of a benefit to warrant an armor slot mod, so that's why I run Bomber as my 3rd mod. And the amount it gives you is more than what you would receive during the extra 2 seconds of charge with light. And to wrap it up, I just want to mention another mod that makes the build even better, the seasonal mod, Monochromatic Maestro. This mod says that dealing elemental ability damage increases the matching weapon damage, and dealing elemental weapon damage increases the matching ability damage, so it works both ways. It's a 10% bonus for 5 seconds, but it can constantly refresh. And since you should be using at least 1 arc weapon for this build, all you have to do is make sure that you damage an enemy with that arc weapon every few seconds, and especially before you use your super. So with all that being said, that's it for this build. I hope you enjoyed, and please let me know if you have any questions or suggestions about the build. Anyways, have a great day, Guardians. Adios.